All right, we've got one cycle before Rabia's finished. We got 6 cycles before the side rail leaves. We have at least 2 cycles before we can help our friends on the Briar. So let's see if we can get some water for the flotilla. Let's actually get rid of this avalanche alert here real quick. Thank you. Oh, that's going to take forever. Absolutely forever. All right, and then I got 1 spare die. What are we going to do with the spare die? Off to sleep, another sleep. Again, not the greatest outcome. But let's check over here. Should be time to talk to Rebia again. Even before you enter the office, you can hear the sound of Rebia working the heavy bag. She's hammering it, the chain creaking as it shakes with each hit. She's been like this since... Sabine doesn't finish the sentence. They're sitting on a stool looking at the terminal in the corner, searching through the SNARP data you pulled all those cycles ago. How have you been? I'm well, Sleeper. Happy to no longer be hunted. They smile. Yatagan has plenty to deal with, and without Yannick, I'm free. They glance nervously at Rabia. Rabia stops punching. In the silence, you can hear her breathing hard. Sabine looks over at her, and you sense something between them. You realize you haven't seen them together since they tried to kill each other in the same unit. A lot has changed since then. They hooked him up like a puppet. Rabia hits the bag, rigged that thing in his head so they could control him, pushed the old Yannick out. I don't know why they'll let him in. Rabia throws a few more punches. But it's a lesson. Don't let them in. Another flurry. Yadigan shouldn't deal with corporations, and we never will again. She spits. She comes away from the bag. At least Yannick's death has been treated as natural. There's a chance we come back from this. That Yadigan can hold on, but there are opportunists trying to take control. Sabine turns to you. Yes, but now the connection has been broken. We've been looking at removing the trackers from the implants in Yadigan's enforcers. It's a significant job, but I think with time I can do the surgeries. Rabia walks away from the bag towards the far side of the unit. Those surgeries will never happen if Yadigan collapses. She shouts back at Sabine. Clearly, this is a well-worn argument in this unit. Huh. Will Yadigan really collapse? I don't think so, no. Rabia doesn't either. They look over at her. At least not when she's calm. What I understand now is that Yadigan can be something if we want it to be. Coming here from SNR, from the core worlds, all I saw was a gang. And with Yannick keeping me on a tight leash, they shudder. Rabia believes, and I want that belief. They look unsure. I also want to be done with SNR, but I doubt they're done with me. They glance away, rubbing their shoulders. I hope you're right. Me too, they smile. I've been wanting to say, Sabine begins nervously, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you where I came from. I know I've apologized before, but I want to again. They pause. Properly. When I leaked the data on the Sleeper program, it was to try to help people like you. They grit their teeth, but after all the cycles here, being pushed down, pushed around, trying to survive, all that got away from me. So when you turned up, they sigh, it shook me up. They run a hand through their hair, but I ended up here, so... They look at Rabia. Ah, of course. They reach into a pocket and take out a handful of vials. These are the last of the case. You can have them. They drop them into your hands. After these last few, I don't know what we can do. With the SNARP connection broken, they look down. But I know there are other ways. Repairs, other pharmaceuticals. I even heard there were some labs in the Greenway. Perhaps they can help. They meet your eye. I'm sorry I can't do more. Thank you for everything. They look away, their eyes bright with tears. Rabia crosses back to you both and sits beside Sabine. They look at each other, and you can't help but smile at the idea of them together. What are you two plotting? Rabia grins. Sabine laughs, and the sound is a welcome one. You watch the two of them teasing each other and smile. Later, when you leave, you take that handful of vials out of your pocket and look at them. You can still feel that core of anger deep down inside you, and you don't know if it'll ever leave. But Essenarp doesn't own you anymore. They can't, because this place, these people own you. They're what makes you get up every cycle. They're what keeps you breathing. You put the vials away and walk through the low end. Your senses tuned to every sight, every smell, and every sound, soaking it all in. Living. Oh, 3 whole vials and an upgrade point. Fantastic. I can get the last one here, but I think it'll probably... You know, I might as well. It's not going to make any difference, though, so no, I'm going to hold on to it. All right. We've got to get water. I'm going to risk a 4. Boo. Oh, we did get water for the flotilla, though. So that's fantastic. Oh, no. Okay, so we can't do that one because there's a 25% chance that we will just completely alert Havenage. And I don't know what that would do. That might just fail the whole thing. So let's save that. No. Oh, that's right. That's right. We get a +2 here. There it is. Okay. Well-placed die. Now, let's head back to our bunk. Heal up a little. Oh, and we need food. And off to sleep. Things are winding down. And we are almost to the point. Okay, so one ought to do this here. Get the water for the flotilla. Hopefully we don't have to wait for a whole bunch of time. Tucked into a service corridor deep below the reservoir, Ishi's double-checking the seals on the water tanks loaded in the motorized trolley. Though you're far enough away from any thoroughfares not to worry about being overheard, you both still speak in hushed tones. How do we get these to the Briar? She glances back at you. We'll trolley these up a bay further along, and then we'll bring the Briar for a quick and quiet collection. Speaking of quiet, she gives you a look and then looks pointedly back down the corridor towards the reservoir before hitting the ignition on the trolley to start it moving. You take the other side of the trolley and walk it up the wide service corridor. With its flickering lights and Solnheim detritus, you doubt it gets used by Havenage. At least, that's the hope. You glance across at Ishi, her face a mask of determination as she guides the trolley along. Maybe some conversation will make this journey a little easier. What comes next? Ishi pauses, a little surprised by your question. She glances back down the tunnel, but in this deserted passage, she can hardly keep up the pretense of silence. We keep going, she answers quickly, and turns back to the trolley, but she can tell you're expecting her to add more. She seems to gather herself for an answer, not wanting to ignore you, but trying instead to get her answer straight in her head. Our outpost, Hawthorne, is not an easy place to grow up. The administrators keep a tight hold of everything. She rolls her eyes, even though they're trapped in the same decaying installation as everyone else. Peak. She pauses. Peak found it harder than most. She pauses again, judging her words. I stepped in to help them out. Silence descends again, but you can feel the wheels turning in Ishi's mind as the creaking wheels of the trolley take you along the corridor. I promised Peak I would get them out, no matter what. So when the opportunity arose, she grimaces, we got out. We got as far away from that place as we could, and we were glad of it. So after this, we keep going, until we're so far from Hawthorne we can't even remember the way back. Ishi stops talking, but she has a dark look in her eyes, her mind thinking of the difficulties that the future might bring. You both reach a wide bulkhead doorway and have to stop to shimmy the trolley over the edge. When you're done, Ishi turns to you. I'm good from here. Head back. And with that, she's gone, moving off into the dark tunnel ahead. You watch her go, and then turn around and walk the distance back to the staircase you entered from, the tunnel humming around you as you do. As you walk, you try to piece together Ishi's past, but all you have are glimpses of a person she once was. She seems to prefer it that way. Okay. And this is done now? Hold on. Hold on, wait a minute. Oh, we have to harvest it now? Oh, we have to harvest it now. Oh my. I thought we just had to wait for something. Ugh, okay. So we need 2 more here. Come on. Oh no, you turkey. Hold on, I've got to check with the sidereal horizon, make sure we're not gonna miss our ship out. Okay, 1, 2, we got 4 more. In several cycles, the sidereal horizon. Wait. We'll set out. We'll either be on board or not. Okay. 4 cycles. All right, let's harvest some algae. Now you can freely harvest edible algae to ship to the refugee flotilla. Even Ishi admits this is a pleasant, earthy taste. Okay, so... Okay. Oh, I see. Each one of these allows us to do one of these. Oh, I gotcha. All right, so we need at least 2 more, which we should have next turn, and 1 more for this to finish it up, as long as we roll well. Let's use our last scrap to top off. And off to bed. Okay, we rolled fairly well. So now we've got 2 we can harvest here to get all the food we need. Slightly different than our usual. Perfect. You're leaning against the metal crates you just loaded up with algae, packed and dried into bright green pucks. Ishi hops into one beside you, flexing her aching back. I hope the refugees like algae. Ishi squints at you as if you just interrupted her train of thought. It's a look you've become familiar with. It doesn't matter either way. This is what we've got, she sighs, rubbing the back of her neck. In these past cycles working the algae stack with H.E., you've had little insight into her mind. She rarely seems happy to start a conversation, but is always eager to end one. Despite this, you feel like something has grown between you, something like silent trust, the kind that tends to seed itself in the fertile soil of hard but necessary work. There's been something concerned. Ishi laughs. You could say that. She turns to face you. I think I'd be stupid not to be concerned about all of this. She's right, of course, though it's hard to focus your concerns on one thing in particular. Can the refugees survive on the flotilla? What are Havenage doing to help them? If the quarantine is lifted, is the Eye really in danger? Each worry is far too large to even begin to process, to judge, and they mesh with other more personal worries, until you feel the anxiety growing in your chest. You look at Ishi, and are suddenly eager to speak, to talk about something, anything, rather than just sitting and feeling this growing weight. Why escape XPR? Why help the flotilla? Ishi pauses, her protective instinct fighting with her trust you've built. You can see her beginning to shrug the question off, then she stops, rethinks, sighs. What you need to understand, Sleeper, is that Erling's Eye wasn't the only place where the Solheim collapse happened. Sure, Hawthorne, where we grew up, was an XPR installation, but they didn't screen it from Solheim going under. Actually, Solheim was the only reason XPR were ever here. She pauses, hesitant to get to the whole story, but wanting to offer something. She flinches, correcting herself. They are a service corps, you understand. They set up outposts and surrogate systems like this to offer refueling, logistics, and maintenance services to bigger companies with extraction contracts. She gestures to the Eye around her, like Solheim. When Solheim went bust, XPR lost their client, and Hawthorne, well, we lost everything. We became an outpost tasked with just holding on. Keep the refueling platforms running, they said. Keep the outpost stable. Hold on to our claim. She rubs at her head as if recalling all this was somehow physically painful. Do you know what it's like to spend your entire life in a place with no future? A place that exists only to hold a legal claim to a piece of territory? To shore up breach of contract negotiations between two corporations? It's like living in a... She searches for the word, her eyes jumping back and forth. In a grave. She clenches her fists. So if you're looking for the answer to why question, that's your answer. We, Peek and I, know what it's like to be forgotten, to be locked out. She stares hard at the side of the stack, the algae whirling against the glass in beautiful patterns. And she doesn't look away. The silence extends and you realize the conversation is over. Ishi seems angry, not at you, but with herself, for even voicing such ideas. After a while, you stand and start to load the crates into the power cargo trawler that Ishi will run back to the Briar. As you do, you try to catch her eye, but she avoids it, soothing herself instead with the comforting simplicity of physical work. Aha, there's our upgrade point. Oh, what are we going to want? Engage, intuit, or engineer? I think we're going to hold on to that until we absolutely need a +2, or we only have a +1, and then we'll pop it. Because right here, we're getting the comms. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4, oh boy. Convince the crew? Oh no. Okay, intuit to get a tug escort. Engineer to upgrade the Briar. Oh no. Oh no. And to find a blind spot. Okay, well, we've got a +2 here. So let's go ahead and use that. Good. Oh no, we got a suspicion as well. Oh, boo. Oh, we also got another suspicion. Okay. Oh no! Things are really tight here. Really tight, but we can get rid of suspicion. Engage, intuit, or engineer. All three of them. I think engage, probably. Okay, so this one needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 whole dice. And so does this one. So yeah, we will upgrade the engage to a +2, just so that we can use that to get rid of suspicion. Oh no! We've got 4 turns to finish that. And only 3 turns before the side reel is leaving. All right, let's see if we can finish this whole thing. A rapid burst of movement catches your attention. A drone, its fins adjusting as it hovers in place, floats in the corridor. Hello? The drone shifts a little but does not respond. The drone buzzes closer and a voice gurgles out of its speaker, distorted and strange. Sleeper, come to the cordon. We need to speak. Okay. The drone clicks and whirs and the recording starts playing again. Sleeper, come to the cordon. Okay. Inspect the drone. You move closer to the drone, bobs away to a safe distance. But as it does, you see the HA of Havenage emblazoned on its side. Could this be Feng's drone? Satisfied it's delivered its message, the drone rotates and accelerates away rapidly as it arrived. You stare at it as it disappears from sight, hoping for some insight that escapes you. To the cordon, then. Oh. As you enter the passage that leads through the cordon, a flash of movement catches your eye. It's the drone again. It stops to make sure you've seen it, then flits to a side passage, leading to a set of narrow stairs. You climb up through a dark shaft, the drone stopping at each landing to check you're following. Despite its lack of expression, there's something overbearing about the way the drone waits, impatiently realigning its fins in sequence. After a long climb, you come out into an observation platform. The cordon and the vast ramshackle refugee ships beyond fill your vision. The scale seems impossible, and immediately you feel small and naive for even thinking you could affect this situation. Something shifts nearby. A drone again? A woman is standing at the window at the edge of your vision. You aren't surprised you didn't notice her. She, too, seems impossibly small in the window of the flotilla. The drone buzzes by her shoulder and she turns. Sleeper, sorry for all the cloak and dagger nonsense. She nods at the drone. But I've never regretted being cautious. She smiles, a tight smile, and holds out a hand. I'm Helen. The tight smile holds, but the drone keeps its single eye fixed on you. The effect is a little unnerving. Look. She glances around the empty observation deck as if checking for potential eavesdroppers. Let's be straight with each other. I know about your plans, and she cuts in before you can respond. I understand your motives. You look at her in her overalls, the yellow markers, the HA sigil. You've been on the eye long enough to recognize a Havenage member when you see them. You're Havenage. Yes, I mean, I expect that's obvious. The tight smile again. I hope you won't hold that against me. She glances around nervously again and moves a little closer. This entire station, I'm not here to defend it. She glances back at the flotilla. No one is happy about this. Yeah. She pauses. Sleeper, tell me something. What does Havenage mean to you? A fresh start. Harden Hurst. She smiles. Fair, I think. Havenage is used to being criticized. In some ways, we invite it. Our members are free to bring up grievances at any meeting, to propose new structures and approaches. She shifts her weight impatiently. As a counselor, it's my duty to listen to them. That's why I was elected by the members. We're an imperfect system, yes, and each counselor, each member, each representative can be flawed and worse. She looks down. But we keep this place running. That's what we do. And non-members? There are paths to membership, and we can't force everyone on the station to join us. What do you expect? We're an association of individuals. We can't always account for the needs of those outside that structure. She turns and looks out at the flotilla. No matter how much we wish to. Can the Eye take in thousands of refugees safely? I don't know. This place is a ruin, Sleeper. What do you think the council discusses? The price of Sherriol? We make plans to keep this place spinning, to keep life support working, to ensure... Helen's slate chirps, and a grim look passes across her face as she sees the notification. She looks tired, the screen light casting her rigid expression in a pale glow. Sleeper, I didn't bring you here to explain how Havenage works. I came here to talk about your plan to cross the cordon, breach the quarantine, and supply the flotilla. She looks directly at you. How do you know? She glances at the drone. I make it my job to know what happens here. I know you think you're helping the flotilla, but you cannot do this. Right now, halfway along the ring, one of a countless series of debates are being held. These debates are to evaluate the potential harm that could be caused if the refugees of the flotilla are left to enter the station. These debates are at a standstill. Helen walks to the window. Too many in the Havenage Council think of the flotilla as a threat. After recent events, a hardline group has emerged. Protective, selfish, they seek only to benefit the members. In their mind, the flotilla is a danger to life on the Eye. If you're caught crossing the cordon and breaching the quarantine, it'll only strengthen the hardline counselor's case. Criminals who stole a ship from XPR undermining the security of the station? She shakes her head. It's exactly what they want. So what? She looks at you coldly. So what, Sleeper? I'm starting to worry if you know anything about what you're doing here. She sighs deeply. And those XPR spacers you're running with? Sleeper, do you know anything about them? More than I know about you. She looks at you pleadingly. Let's change that, Sleeper. Why do you think the refugee flotilla came here now? Something is happening in the system. Something is pushing people out of colonies and outposts that have survived since Solheim collapse. We need to be ready for whatever's coming, ready to protect the Eye. I know the Eye means something to you. I know there's a reason you're still here. Help me protect it. Helen fixes you with a strong look. Persuade those spacers that this is the wrong move, that they'll get caught and the flotilla will be locked down, that Havenage will be delivered to those with the worst instincts. Forget this suicidal supply run with people you barely know. Help me fight for the Eye. Why don't you stop them? If I expose the plan, it's the same as if it goes ahead and they're caught. Everywhere I look at it, the Eye looks compromised. The quarantine justified. The hardliners get their scapegoat. Don't offer up the excuse the hardliners need to lock the flotilla out altogether, to persuade the members they're the safest pair of hands. She looks at you imploringly. Please. You look back at her and the flotilla behind, and sense a desperation in her plea. A notification breaks the silence. She rapidly scrolls through pages of data. Sleeper, I need to go. She looks torn. Think about this, please. Talk to the spacers. Help them see reason. And she quickly leaves the observation deck before you have time to respond. You stay for a moment, watching the lights of the tugs and the flotilla, and wonder what it feels like to be on one of those ships. So close to your destination, and yet so far from it. And then you think of the Havenage Council chamber across the Eye, where the right of these people to find safety is being debated. You shiver, and then you too are gone, back into the stairwell in the cold dark below. Ah, politics. Politics. Oh, here I've got all these great dice. And if we go ahead with the plan, she's probably right. They may get all across the cordon. Havenage security are keeping close eye on things. Gain their attention and you'll struggle to maintain access. So do we have to set up for the plan perfectly and then tell them not to? There, the briar's almost upgraded completely. This just needs 3 more. So 1 whole turn just to complete these. And then another perfect turn to complete this. And then I've got to leave. Oh my. No, I don't have enough dice. I've got to warn him off. Got to tell him. Oh, here we go. Sleeper. Peak is waiting for you when you leave, but they look different, pale, drawn out. You need to come up to the briar now. They don't meet your eye. Nod. We'll be waiting. Peak walks away. Don't take long. And with that, they disappear around the corner, leaving you anxious and confused. Ah, they heard too? Oh no. All of it's gone. Oh no. As you walk into the climbing briar's cavernous bay, now filled with crates and containers, Ishi is waiting for you. In front of her, sliced open with its insides scattered across the top of a heavy-duty crate, is an object you recognize. Helen's drone. You freeze. Come in, quick. Beak nudges you before the bay, looking behind you before sealing the entryway. We have to start being careful. You move closer to the container, your eyes on the drone splayed out in pieces, some parts of it hooked up to a slate that Peak picks up and begins tapping away at. Ishi looks up from the dissection. We caught it buzzing around nearby, heading for the ship. She leans over and taps the HA sigil on one of the removed pieces of plating. It's a Havenage spy. We think we got it before it sent data back, but we can't be sure. Peak looks at you nervously. Ishi cuts in. Have you noticed anyone watching you? Any drones like this? Anyone following up to the briar? I've seen this drone. Ishi frowns. Following you? I met its owner. Ishi pauses for a while, Peak looking between the two of you. Explain, Sleeper, Ishi says quietly. Tell them about Helen. You explain that you met with Helen at the cordon, and you tell Ishi and Peak about what she told you, that the Havenage Council are debating lifting the quarantine, but they're blocked by the hardliners. You speak faster and faster, but before you can finish, Ishi walks away in anger, and then comes back again, her eyes burning. What is this, Sleeper? Have you understood nothing from what we've told you? She paces in front of you. Havenage are not your friends. They're administrators, which means they're interested only for their own power, their own survival, their own causes. They divide people as easily as sorting livestock. The greater good of their work demands it. The wider project of the station, the colony, the nation. Her eyes are wide as she speaks, her anger barely contained. She wants to help. Ishi laughs. Help what, Sleeper? Undo the mess of their own creation? She only wishes to placate you so you'll compromise, so you'll do what's acceptable, not what's right. She's trying. Let me tell you something, Sleeper, Ishi says, her rage hardening into pain. When people become administrators, they give up something, some part of being human. Being an equal among others goes away. They start talking about the greater good, the systems, the ways in which their hands are tied or their process is compromised. My mother was the administrator of Hawthorne. And I've seen what it did to her. That noble, higher calling, it's toxic. People should never have the chance to decide the fate of others, and those that do so at a cost to their humanity. Peak tries to cut in, but Ishi holds up a hand. Don't start, Peak. Don't ask me to be reasonable or calm down. Thousands of people are desperate out there. Being reasonable will only prolong their suffering. Helen can help. Ishi turns away. I'm done with this. You're risking this entire supply run just by being here. She walks back into the bay and starts checking the straps on the crates. I'll go next cycle. We don't need you anymore. Get out! Sleeper. Peak looks torn. You have to understand, this is personal for Helen, for Ishi. I know. Peak looks away, then at Ishi. I don't know, Sleeper. I just don't know what to do. You glance around the bay at the briar, the wall seeming closer every second. This whole thing is closing in on you, and the question is, where do you want to be when it all collapses? You look at Peak. What do you think, Sleeper? Peak rubs her forehead. Should we do this thing or not? No. No. Peak grimaces. I was worried you would say that. To be honest with you, Sleeper, I'm not sure how we got here. I mean, I know what we did, but it's like the universe shifted under us. One moment we're escaping Hawthorne, and now we're here and we have no idea what's coming. They look at Ishi. But do you see her? They look back at you. She knows how we got here. She's driving this thing forward, and she saved my life. So if your answer is no, I'm going to need you to stand back and get out of our way, because wherever she goes, that's where I'll follow. Now do this. Peak smiles weakly, their eyes glistening. You can't ask me to do that, Sleeper. You can't. I'm out. Peak looks down, shaking their head. Then you're free to go. They slip away to help Ishi, leaving you alone to replay the conversation in your head. None of this feels good. But after everything Helen told you, they can't do this. You leave the Briar, perhaps for the final time, unsure what comes next. Oh no! They're gonna do it, aren't they? They're gonna go! And there's nothing to do about it. And the side rail horizon is leaving. Next. Okay. Like I said, this game has so many possible endings. So many nooks and crannies to go through. Let's see if we can get this finished with the dice that we have. And see what that gets us. Oh, a whole extra things. Oh, the capsules. We found another place to sleep. Capsule 451 is unlocked. So now we can sleep whenever we want. Repair, end the cycle. A whole extra person we've not talked to. Oh man, this game is definitely worth a play on your own time so that you can follow your own path and figure out what you want to do. I've got another mushroom to eat. I don't have time for talking with Bliss, the ship's mechanic. Let's patch ourselves up just a little bit. Oh, complete active scenes? Oh, I have to talk to Bliss. Okay. Hello?
No way, Moritz. You take those substandard filters back to the people who sold you them.
You hear the voice echoing out of the bay as you pass, and moments later someone who you assume is Moritz drifts out with it, dragging a pallet of filter cartridges by a tether.
Hey, you out there?
The same voice echoes out of the entrance.
Looking for work?
Who, me?
Everyone in this station is looking for work. Get in here.
A voice is coming from someone shorter than you expected. She's floating in the microgravity of the docking bay beside a half-deconstructed life support unit that looks like it might have exploded at some point. She points a wrench in your direction.
You know anything about these things?
She doesn't wait for an answer.
Scratch that. Just help me with the casing. Alrighty then.
She deftly moves around the unit, making space for you beside the central seam and the dented case.
Just take a grip here and lift out and up. Then I can get in and unbolt it.
She whacks the unit with the wrench.
Whole thing is twisted.
You dig your fingers under the casing and lift it away, the metal squealing from the force. She puts her hands under the spinning the wrench to slip on the bolts, catching them in her other hand when they spiral free. All good. The casing lifts off, revealing the ornate piping of the unit's interior. She whistles at the mess of ducts and filters. By the way, everyone calls me Bliss. She pats you on the shoulder, offering a little in the way of explanation. It is for now, yeah, whether I like it or not. She looks at you like that should mean something. Bliss starts pushing and pulling at the ductwork, looking for fractured pipes. We haggle for contracts, but the good ones get snapped up quick by the bigger bays. So here I am trying to get this M2 unit running again for one of the freelance tugs. Small-time stuff. Hold this. She rips out a ribbed pipe and hands it to you like a freshly caught fish. We turn stuff around fast and neat, and maybe we get the chance at landing something bigger. Something starts hissing in the unit, and Bliss quiets with a precise whack. But to be honest with you, the way things are going, I can already see the other crews licking their lips, ready to take this place over. She looks up at you. I'm almost out of luck. What happened? Long story. Some people just can't keep promises. She keeps working, twisting aside pipes with care. Here we are. Bliss pulls her hand from deep inside the unit, and out it comes, clutching a lumpen cube scorched black. This thing must have overloaded and popped half of it itself out the side. You both duck down to the side of the unit and spot the exit wound, its edges fringed with more scorch marks. Grab me a replacement converter from the racks, will you? You kick off from the unit and drift over to the wall racks, where a catalog of parts secured in clamps, colored tape, and scrawled notes filter across the wall. A complex organizational system of Bliss's own design, or just a big mess. You try to pick out the right part. You grab the part and push it back to the unit. Bliss holds out an arm and you pass it over, a converter spinning gently as it leaves your hand. Perfect. You passed. She straightens up in front of the unit. That is, if you want to work here. Well, welcome, Sway. Welcome to the log pile. You're just in time. We've been offered another job. Bliss rubs her hands clean, looking down at her palms. Truth is, I need a hand here. My partner skipped out on me and left me with a whole mess. You seem like you might at least be better at spotting a clean air filter than Moritz. Well, consider it. Wait, she frowns at the racks. That's not all of it. My old business partner, they rents the place, emptied the accounts. To bid for jobs, we need to put down deposits, bring in parts, pay tug fees. For that, she looks nervous and embarrassed, we need chits. An investment? Exactly. Partners. Straight split. Bliss settles herself against the unit and looks off into the distance. I guess I look pretty stupid. Here I am making a random passerby to be my business partner. No offense? She smiles, a smile. I get it. Thanks. She meets your eye. I appreciate it. Bliss goes back to working on the unit. Look, it's no pressure. If you find the money or you find someone who has, or you just forget the whole thing, up to you. She gestures for you to help her refit the casing, and you both slot it back into place. I think I'm going to wrap this one up for now, but if you're into it, come back and we can bid on a new contract. Something to get our teeth into, something that pays. She gives you a serious look. You can trust me. I don't say this stuff lightly. You kick away from the bay, propelling yourself back to the handholds at the entrance. You slip out with a wave, and as you do, someone slips back in. You hear Bliss as you glide down the passageway. Moritz, I swear, if those filters aren't clean... You smile. Seems like this could be interesting. Indeed. A new drive! Oh no! Ha-ha! All right. Well, it's not time for a drive. It's time to end it. Okay, we'll be right back with Mina. But first we gotta go check in on our friends down here. They're still not going through with it. Or they might be. I don't know. It feels like we would be given the option to go with them as an ending. And it's kind of sad of an ending. Let's try this one. There's a crowd, but you spot Lim and Mina immediately as you enter the dock. They're waiting at the cordon, where Sealess security are checking the crew in to board the ship. Those that manage to get up to the hub are crowded near the entrance, but even they know their chance of getting on board is long gone. Lim! Lim spots you among the crowd. Sleeper! We're here. They're standing beside a bag which looks to carry all the possessions they have. It's small enough to be carried in one hand. You ready? Lim smiles nervously. Well, I guess so. He hefts the bag. I hope they let us take this on board. Got our whole life in here. You hand over the Sealess ID film to Lim, keeping your own. He turns it back and forth in the light. Where did your friend even get this picture, Sleeper? Looks like my old Conway ID. You look, and a shimmering younger Lim stares out of the film, harder and clean cut. I spoke to the guard here. He nods to the white and green-clad security officer. They'll be doing orientation and role assignment on board. Sounds like we're going to be working under the core crew, kind of like an intern. He laughs. What do you think, Meanie? Am I too old to be an intern? Following Lim's lead, you inspect your IDs. As you lift the film up to the light, you see something strange, something that makes you flinch. The face printed on the film is one you recognize immediately, but it's not you. At least it's not how you look now. You squint at this ghost, confused why you hadn't noticed earlier. It's a picture you remember being taken, a memory that you didn't know you had. You remember signing the forms, the walk to the sleeper tanks, the cold metal floor. You remember the SNARP employee who helped you in, her smile clean and surgical. You freeze in place, thinking of the you that still sleeps somewhere in an SNARP facility. That won't wake until you're recovered and disposed of. And now you're leaving. Will they ever wake up? Sleeper, Lim interrupts your thoughts. These guys want us to board. You stare at him without thinking, then notice the guard gesturing you to both come forward. You all kick off and float over to them, steadying yourself in the guardrail. You hang back, letting Lim present his ID film first. The guard slides it across a white machine, much like the one Castor printed them from. You reflexively rub the puncture mark in your hand. Even though there's no trace of it now, it seems to be your destiny to be someone else's tool. Lim and Mina are waved through, the guard smiling at their excited face. Lim turns back to check you're coming. The guard beckons you closer. Well, it's time to board. You shake off your doubts and hand over your ID film. The guard barely looks at it as they pass you through the scanner and wave you through. A new life built from old things. You okay? Lim asks, concerned, as you catch up with them.
You are so slow, robot.
Mina teases, grabbing at you with small hands. Just making sure. Lim nods, and you realize how much harder it must have been for him to cross that threshold. Mina struggles in his arms, trying to get to you, and Lim relents, struggling with both the bag and his daughter. Mina tumbles through the microgravity and grabs onto your clothes for purchase, pulling herself into your arms. You all proceed up the walkway, the entrance to the docking bridge yawning wide in above you.
Are we family, robot?
Mina asks as you move, taking you by surprise. I guess so. Mina smiles and presses her head against your chest, pleased by your answer. You keep moving, up into the docking bridge, then along that thin glass-walled connector, all the time Mina clutching onto you. The lack of gravity means you can't feel her weight, only the grip of her small hands on your clothes. You both were wide-eyed at the vast hull of the sidereal horizon and tried to think of this huge machine as a home. Later, when you settle in your bunk after Mina has finished running back and forth between you and Lim with an endless and infectious excitement, you find yourself looking at your ID film once more. Somehow, since the last time you looked at it, the image seems to have changed. It's still a picture of the old you, the person that signed up to have their consciousness copied and placed into the ownership of SNR, but something else has crept into the image. An underlying sense of self-identification. This is also a picture of you. You now. The you that survived the eye, that made friends here, that found a way out, that escaped against all odds. The other you might never wake up. They might never live again. But so be it. They considered you consigned you to a doomed life for their own gain. Their life is yours now. You'll live it better than they ever could. You lie back on your bunk as the thrust of the sidereel's vast engines kick in. This feeling, this rumble, will be your constant companion for the next decades. It will be there when you work, when you watch Mina grow, when you dream of the planet at the end of the journey. It will stay with you when your body starts to fail, despite the best attempts of Lem and Mina. As the years stack up and it exceeds its safe operating period by a decade, it will be the thing you wake up to in those rare moments of consciousness, between which Mina will keep you in a frozen state in the hope of preserving you until your destination is reached. It will still be there when Mina wakes you, tears in her eyes, to tell you of Lem's inevitable death. And it will not relent, despite your desire for a moment of silence. It will be the final thing you hear, as Mina shuts down all but the most vital of your functions, and hopes beyond hope that you make it to your final destination, all the while doubting that you will. But for now, in this moment of departure, it's still a new sound, a new feeling. And because of this, it's filled with the promise of the future. And so you settle back on your bunk and close your eyes, and in moments, you are sleeping a perfect dreamless sleep, the most peaceful that you can ever remember. And there we have it. Our run ends here. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a joy, a wonderful storytelling experience that you should go out and play yourself. Definitely support the devs who are willing and able to make such a beautiful game. And they're making a sequel, which we will be playing here on the BackLog. Thank you all for joining through to the end here. Our second ending, if you will. The true ending